Well, hi there, Rabbi. I see you are at the port of entry to this great nation, and many is this story I have heard, and many of the stories that my family has heard of sailing into New York Harbor with that statue there waving, "Welcome to our country." Is that what we're going to talk about today?
Absolutely. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the fact that great grandparents left Russia prior to Hitler's coming to power. We have no cousins, relatives. A whole group of people was murdered and massacred in the concentration camps because they didn't leave in time, because nobody really believed that Hitler would herd people and deport them and do something called remigration. Nobody believed him. And once he got in power, he started doing it. And I have a real fear about here in the United States that we're not taking President Trump and J.D. Vance seriously when both of them promote remigration. You know, too often I hear people saying, well, that's Trump being Trump and he won't do it and that doesn't mean it. You know, it's time to start taking this seriously, this idea that the United States is a white nation and remigration is a form of ethnic cleansing. And we can't dismiss when Trump talks about the Haitians, he wasn't talking just about undocumented. He said those are the legal citizens, Haitians, should be removed and sent back. Remigration, a horrific policy. And we have a 20th century example of what happens when someone comes to power with the goal of forcing non-ethnic Europeans or not, however you may want to term it. I'm using the word remigration because that's a term that's coming to light and not many people have heard it. You've heard the great replacement theory. No one's being replaced, Joe. We're a country of immigrants who came, we created a stew, and now it's time to take this presidential candidate seriously and not dismiss it just as Trump raving something that he won't really do.
Well, there are checks and measures, and the both houses are not threatened to turn over, although the Senate apparently is ripe for possible change. But isn't it true that some of the people who want to vote for Trump are for all these things? Isn't that the tragedy?
Yes, that is the tragedy, because again, it's the same as Nazi Germany. You know, there were checks and balances, the Reichstag. There were balances in Germany, and people said, "Oh, Hitler could never do that." It's identical, Joe. Identical. You have an individual appealing to a group of people who really believe in remigration, who really believe that they're being replaced by some other group. And I also want to point out about those individuals, it kind of a caveat, a warning. You know, first they came for, but I wasn't in that group. Then they came for, but I wasn't in that group. And eventually they came for me, and there was nobody left. And that's the lesson of Nazi Germany. And that's the lesson of promoting something for a particular group of followers or a particular group of people, this idea that, oh, they'll never get to me. They will get those people that are supporting remigration. They probably belong to a group that eventually will be deported.
Well, it's the lesson also of McCarthyism, and it's apparently one that we have to keep relearning. But what if you don't agree with Trump, if you don't like Trump's policies, but you at the same time don't think that Vice President candidate Harris is capable of dealing with the many conflicting issues that are dealing with the border today?
You know, that's another fallacious argument. We have to stop that kind of a nonsense. If we don't have to vote for Harris, but you don't have to vote for Trump. Vote Libertarian, vote Green, write in Rabbi Kenneth B. Block. But don't support someone who's talking about remigration, who's talking about hurting you and me just because you don't like the opponent. Don't vote for either one of them. Find another candidate, and there'll be another election in 4 years. So join the Republican Party and get a decent Republican to run in 4 years. They're out there. The Lincoln Project is promoting people.
And let's put it bluntly, a lot of white Christian Americans were very happy with the status quo when the majority was most of us were white Christian Americans. And now we see that the policies that the founders of our nation enacted are working and doing a good job of making this a free country, a diversified country. But all of a sudden, they're looking around and saying, say, my all white neighborhood isn't all white anymore. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? But that happened all through the 50s and the 60s. And people adapted and changed and got used to it, and we all improved.
There's room for all of us. This idea of replacement, we have to move away from it. And we have to start thinking, I don't have to like everybody. I don't have to want to eat that particular food, but that's fine. That's not a reason for getting rid of them. I continually want to emphasize there's no such thing as getting rid of them without them getting rid of you once they get rid of them. You're next on the list.
Well, I can tell you one thing, Rabbi. I really like your suggestion about the write-ins, and I'm seriously considering a write-in for Rabbi Kenneth B. Block. Spell the name right. Rabbi around the block. That's what we want for president of this country. I'm sure you'll lead us to a better future.
Yep, everyone, when you write my name in, remember it's Block. At Ellis Island, they kind of changed it, which was a good thing because our original name wasn't quite pronounceable. I like being a block with a K on the end. Please vote for Rabbi Block.